We know that after the melon felon got into office, the melon felon, that a lot of y'all have been thinking about getting out of the United States, right? And there is no age limit, right? We've been hearing from people from 21 to 71 and everybody in between. I want out. So we're going to talk to someone who is under 30, who made the move. And here's the thing, though. It didn't go as smoothly as he had anticipated.
Life be life.
Lives, right? And here's the thing. Sometimes we put our faith in people that don't deserve that faith. And we think people are handling their business for us. And they're not doing it. So don't just go with anybody when we're talking about who's going to help you with this immigration process, et cetera, et cetera. Now, look, it's a lot easier than than trying to immigrate to the United States. There is no comparison. It's very straightforward. It's relatively objective, right?
Yeah.
But you go with the wrong person, you listen to the wrong person. We know people who have been waiting to get stuff processed for 2 years because they listened to the wrong person. They finally had to go back to the States and start all over. We do not want that for you.
No, we don't.
Right?
No, we don't. So we try to give you the information that you need.
Right.
All the information that you need and put you with people that, even know more than we know.
Exactly, that we will work with.
Yes.
And the people that we work with. So we're going to get started. We have got a wonderful show for you today. I'm so excited.
We got boss. We got LaBoss on the show.
In the house. So if you are new to our channel, hey y'all, my name's Halisi.
And I'm Rick. Welcome to Our Black Utopia.
On our channel, we talk about money, we talk about travel and retiring abroad. We help Black folks who are getting close to retirement age get their money straight so that they can retire on time or maybe even early.
And early is always a good thing.
Always good. But if you don't know about 2018, Rick and I had a wake-up call, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
We had a wake-up call. We looked at our money and it looked crazy.
It was crazy, y'all. Crazy.
You crazy.
I'm crazy.
But we got our financial act together and we went from negative 22,000 to over 1.1 million in net worth, y'all. If we can do it, you can do it too.
You can do it.
So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe. We know. I'm gonna wait. You got it? Cool.
Hold on, one more. Okay.
All right. Subscribe. We know that 50% of you who watch our videos are not subscribed. So hit that notification bell so that you know every single time that we go live or drop a new video. And if you find this information helpful, smash that like button. All right. So, sweetheart, who is our special guest today?
LaBoss, this young man, near and dear to our hearts.
Yes.
Because he's doing the damn thing.
Yes.
He didn't play pro basketball.
Yep.
Yep. Hey, man, I wish I had the sense he has when I was his age.
I might have run for president had I been that smart at under 30.
But oh my God.
I didn't have the sense that God gave me. So without further ado, let's bring him on stage. Hey, LaBoss.
Hey,
how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes. So I'm LaBoss, Haitian, former professional basketball player, played in multiple countries, England, Germany, Malta, Portugal, and now I'm life after ball. I'm a travel vlogger. I have a YouTube channel. That's my main thing. So hopefully you guys can join me on this journey. And I'm excited to tell y'all my journey of how I made this place home because, it was a journey for sure.
Absolutely. So we have all of LaBoss's contact information in the description below. So make sure that you follow this young man and get more edification about life in Portugal. So let's get started. I want to know, okay, first of all, I didn't know about all these different countries. So what was the first, so you moved to the United States at what age?
So I was born in Florida.
Oh, okay. Just
Yeah,
Haitian by culture and
yep. So born in Florida. I grew up in Boston. And yeah, the backstory is I visited Europe when I was in high school. So I was 17, first time out of the US. Well, I had family in Montreal. So us Haitians, what we do is we land in Florida and we go up north afterwards for education, right? So Boston, New York, and then Montreal. So I live in Massachusetts. I had family in Canada. So I'd been to Montreal, but then I visited Europe in high school, and that was the start. Like that was the start. So yeah, that's the big story.
so y'all go from a beautiful island to the cold? That's what y'all do? That's what y'all do?
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I don't like the cold.
Right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, some uninformed folks, they're like, well, how come all these people move here and how come all those people move there? I've even heard dumb things like, why is there a Chinatown? It's like, okay, white girl, do your history. Mm-hmm. But I guess the thing is that, when you've got the community there, then you can help with contacts and, where you can find a job, where you can find housing, this and that, the other. Somebody else from the community has paved the way.
Yeah, that's all it takes. That first person to make the move. So.
Right. And I think that's what we have here in Lisbon, Portugal.
Yeah.
All right. So you went to Europe the first time in high school. So tell us about your basketball career. Like when did you play where?
Yeah. So I played my first year in England. So I was actually getting my master's over there. So when I was trying to go overseas, my goal was to get a professional contract, right? So like after that trip in high school, to give you guys a context, just to start fresh and hot, I believe like 3 months before that trip, I was homeless, right? I was homeless for about some time in high school. It wasn't a long period of time. But the reason why I give that backstory was that was like, I think in life, everyone has a moment, right? Like life is going to come hit you in the face, right? And it's time that something needs to change, right? Whether it's you need to change, the way you think about your situation needs to change, or you need to change your situation, or all the above, right? So again, first generation, I was first with my family, born in the States. I just remember we always were moving. Every other year, I'm moving in. I've lived all over Massachusetts, right? Now that I'm older, I know I'm a product of gentrification, like is, struggling family, moving to the States, just trying to make ends meet. When we're younger, they don't tell us that, so that trip, so I went to a very good high school for basketball, Bremer and May, and that was in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. So that was down the street from Boston College. Okay. And our trip, so they do a trip called a Wintram trip, and every 2 years it's a trip outside of the country with the whole high school. This is a small school. There was like 30-40 students per grade. Okay. And I saw Paris and Barcelona as the first option. I said, I'm going there. I was wow. I'd even to this day, I'd even read the rest of the list because I don't know. I think it's like a Haitian thing. We always want Paris is like our dream place. I speak Spanish, so I was like, I also want to go to Spain. So, prior to that trip, I'm struggling. I'm struggling. So that was like my light at the end of the tunnel. That European trip. Growing up, I always heard, Litor cher. So in Haitian Creole is like, it's too expensive. Like it's so expensive. So now I just remember one day, like, I think I was in the car one night and I'm just looking up, okay, I need to start learning about the US, right? I need to start learning about this economy. I was like, let me just type it online. Why is America so expensive? I done seen articles on how Americans get into debt, right? So I'm like, okay, I seen medical debt. I seen college loan debt. And remember, I'm coming from a basketball background. My plan was to get a scholarship. I'm not even thinking about college tuition. That kind of fell to the cracks. So now I'm thinking about, okay, how am I going to afford college, everything, right? I had read a story of a family, wife, husband, 2 kids. One of them has a medical situation. Boom. Now they're just struck. It's just, I'm like, wow, this is, So, okay. So now I'm thinking, right? Because again, someone has to acknowledge and take the change, right? For us to not struggle anymore and make a way, right? So my mindset of going to that trip in Europe was not only, be in Paris and Barcelona, but I was like, let me see how these other economies work, right? Let me see how these other economies navigate. So I go on that trip. First off, I'm just stunned by the architecture, right? Like we landed in Paris. Rick and Elisa, I'm taking pictures of the stop signs. I'm like, it's in French.
I know how you feel.
It's in French. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I was just like, wow. And I was like, these, like a lot of these buildings, like they're built to last, right? I remember our first meal in the hotel. It was a croissant, 2 boiled eggs, some butter, and orange juice. Freshest meal I ever had. I ate that. I'm like, why is it so fresh? So it threw me off, And again, this is my first time out the country, other than Canada when I was younger. So I'm like, okay, like this trip is like day one, just amazing so far. So other than that, I noticed in Paris and Barcelona, it's like a slower pace than the States, right? Like everyone just stops in the city center. They stop and they see the people performing. They stop to the little sides to get the cafe. It looked like a movie scene. I was just taking everything in. My friends, like only like I think one of my friends kind of knew my personal home situation at the time. So a few of my friends always be like, yo, you zoning out. What's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm taking this in. I'm learning how these people, So then, and then I remember now I'm interacting with people, I'm able to speak French, basic French because of the Haitian Creole, and then I speak Spanish. So I'm asking them, hey, like, if you don't mind me asking, because remember, I'm about to go to college. This is my senior year of high school. So I was like, how much is your college? Like, how much is tuition for you guys? Like, 2,000-3,000. I said, what? What?
I know.
2,000-3,000 times what? They're like 2,000-3,000, sometimes couple hundred. I said, so now I'm asking multiple people, same response, right? I'm like, how much is your health insurance, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, it's free. I said, boy, if you don't, what? Like, it's free. They're like, yeah, we have national healthcare here, or private is very expensive. I'm like, okay. So now it's just making sense, and just then we was in Paris for 4 days. We went to Barcelona on the train. I'm like, we can go to another country on the train. So architecture better, weather, like accessibility to travel, health insurance, affordable or free, college education, affordable. So I remember, and this set it off. I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact sentence, but I remember there was one day everybody was outside around like lunchtime. I was like, do these people not have school or work? Like, again, we from the States, we're go. So I'm like,
yes.
So I went up to, I'm like, you guys don't, we went up to some girls. I'm like, you guys don't have school? Like I saw people from like retirees, people in suits, young kids. You guys don't have school, work? They're like, she's like, you're American, huh? I'm like, where's she going? Again, I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact sentence, but it was something along the lines of like, you Americans, your lifestyle is work, die. Over here, we enjoy life, work with a balance. It hit me a bell. I'm moving to Europe. And that's the that's the start. That's the start.
I had an opportunity to go to Europe when I was in high school, and I was so silly that I blew it. And I was like, I'm going to cheerleading camp. Like, had I known that school in Europe was less expensive, I always thought it was more expensive based upon, the other thing, we didn't have the internet in those days. Right. And so, but had I known, I'd have been so out of there. I might not be talking to you right now.
It's baffling to me. So to go to where I played and everything like that. So my goal, so when I got to college, Rick and Elise, like I'm a I'm focused, right? Basketball was my ticket. I didn't know nothing about these visas that we have now, right? The nomad visas, entrepreneur visas. Where I was like, yo, I'm going overseas and I'm focused, right? So, and I'm gonna get there by any means necessary. And my goal was not to just play basketball overseas; it was to live, right? So I ended up, played 4 years in college, and then now I'm trying to get a contract. I didn't land a contract. I think I had like a situation like Belarus, but it was not it wasn't a good place to go to first year, and there was like a racial situation the year before. I was like, I'm all set. I'm leaving the States. I'm good. So I found out through my assistant coach, shout out to him, about you can go get your master's and play, right? And you're also getting your master's degree. You're playing for the school and playing for like the semi-professional team as well. I was so over school that I was like, another degree. I was a biology undergrad. So for those that don't know, I'm, in a Haitian household, us foreign parents, doctor, lawyer, engineer, or pastor. You know what I'm saying? So I was a science nerd. I love science. I was a biology undergrad, but I was just like, I'm done with school. So I kind of pushed it off. It was my mentor, who's basically like a father figure to me, who pretty much knocked sense. Like, I had went to like professional camps, everything like that. And, a month goes by. He's like, you still don't have anything? I was like, I have this opportunity to get my master's in England. He's like, what? He's like, you're going. I was like, I don't want to. He's like, no, you're going. Just like, this is my mentor. Like, he's like, you're going. So come to find out, he did it 20 years ago. He did it in London. Like, best decision I've ever made. He's like, if you don't go, you're going to regret it. He's like, you're going. I was like, I don't want to go back to school. He's like, look, you're going to England. You're going abroad. They speak English. So it's a good first step abroad, right? You're still playing basketball. From what you're telling me, the con is you're getting your master's, and that's not a bad con. Right. You're going,
Are you glad you have your master's now?
I mean, I'm glad I have it. I'll be honest. I be forgetting I have it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But I'm.
That's hilarious. I don't forget. I'll let a sister know. I'll let a brother know. I worked hard for that master's.
Yeah.
And some people were sacrificed. Relationship time was sacrificed. Because I got it as a untraditional student. What did you study?
So I did international business management.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a whole 180. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I knew a lot of. So I have an MBA, and I know. I would say half my class were science majors in undergrad.
Yeah, whole switch. Because the truth is, I knew I was going to go overseas after college. I didn't want to do 3 years of a medical master's degree in the States. Rack up. I was like, nah, I'm
all that debt,
all kind of debt. Yeah.
I was clear. Once I knew I was going overseas, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm locked in. So it was the best year of my life. I was in Newcastle, England. I was in the north of England. So I was about 3 hours north of London. It worked out and it was a blessing in disguise because that COVID happened that year. But since I was there on school and my housing was through the school, I had like a studio and everything. They didn't send us back. All my friends that were playing pro that year, once COVID hit, contract done, you out. So it was a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
See, your mentor knew what was up.
Yeah.
Now, was your brother there at the time?
So, what, like, was he there with me?
In England?
No. So he ended up coming during the lockdown. During the lockdown. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, England's cold.
So listen. So you took the words right out of my mouth, right? So after some months, I was like, I'm starting to think, because remember, me also going overseas was I was like, okay, I'm embarking on this journey. I'll find a home eventually. I kind of had Spain. I had went to Spain. Spain was in the top of the list. I'll get to that. So I'm in England, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? I think I rock with England. I think I rock with it. Winter comes, I'm like, COVID comes. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Like it's cold, it's gray, depressing, and it's it's very I feel like it was too close and similar to the US for me, you know? So I was like, I didn't leave the US to have this similar vibe energy. So yeah.
It's not, it's interesting because it's not as bad, but the main colonizers, right, of America were the British, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have a great reputation. They have a better reputation.
Yeah.
They don't have a great reputation.
Yeah, exactly.
At least the cops don't carry guns.
Yeah, way different. Yeah, that's what I used to tell my friends when they would when all these cops was ganging up on one person. I'm like, listen, I'm from the States. This is nothing. Like this ain't
right.
Yeah.
All right. So after England, then where?
Yeah, great question. So I was in England during lockdown. So from England, I landed a contract in Germany. So this is during the COVID lockdown. So I didn't go ahead.
Another cold place.
Exactly. So I didn't if I had left England, it would have been very hard for me to get back and land a contract, right? Because that's it was the second lockdown of all the countries, everything was in the restrictions, everything. And I was like, listen, I got a studio apartment, I'm good, right? So I went from England to Luxembourg. So that's the start of the pro journey. I packed all my bags. There was no going back to England. They passed the rule about Division 3 players couldn't play pro anymore. So couldn't play pro anymore in that year for England. So I wasn't planning on re-signing with that team. So I just was like, okay, I'm going on faith, took my bags, boom, went to the tryout. So landed a tryout in Luxembourg, 10-day contract. Didn't make it, unfortunately, got cut. From there, the next day, the coach in Germany called me, and then I go to Germany. So I landed in Germany. I was in Berlin, but Halisa, you said it. I'm cold, you know? So and remember, guys, I grew up in Massachusetts. So I go from snow winters to rainy, gloomy to now Germany is just like my bones just felt like it was just deteriorating. I was like, oh my goodness. And 2 days before my first game, Germany went back into lockdown. So I'm like, oh, so now I'm in Germany, not doing what I came there to do. You know, I was still getting paid because I was on the contract. But Germany was my first true biggest challenge abroad. That was my first true biggest challenge. Again, I speak English, Haitian Creole, French, Spanish. I get to German. I'm like, whoa, you know? Thankfully, I was in Berlin, you know, so a lot of people did speak English there, but that was the first time that I was like, wow, like I can't really navigate and communicate as much, you know, and I don't like being in that position. So yeah, it was kind of just, so a month went by, no basketball, and then now December's come, and I'm like, I'm not spending the holidays in Germany, cold, can't play this and that. So I was
by yourself,
by myself, right? First time in my life, I went and I was depressed. I didn't even know it was like I was like, man. So I typed in online. I was like, what countries are open, right? Because of the whole lockdown. I saw Malta and the Canary Islands. So I had a friend from England that was studying in Malta, and she was posting every day, like it's beautiful there. So I was like, I'll go to Malta. So I went to Malta on vacation. I get to Malta. I'm swimming in the ocean in December. I'm not going back to Germany. I'm sorry. So I was like, what? And so Malta, when COVID hit, they were strict. They shut the borders down. They announced like, this is the date that the borders are shutting. If you're trying to get in, you're not going to get in. If you're here, you're stuck. Like, so they were, you know, it was like, I got there and it was like civilization again. So yeah, I spent a month in Malta. That was kind of the start of my travel vlogging because now I was able to do that. My first vlog was actually from Malta. And then once the new year came, it was time to go back to Germany for the to resume the contract. I pretty much called the coach. I was like, hey, what's the situation? Right? Like, I have a gym over here. I'm working out here. I didn't tell him, but I was like, I'm living my best life out here too. I was like, I'm like, if the season is not resuming in Germany, I'm gonna just stay. And they were like, the season in Germany got suspended all the way to like April. This is January now, all the way to April because of the lockdown. I was like, okay, y'all can release my contract. I was like, y'all can release my contract. So I flew back to Germany, grabbed all my stuff, came back to Malta. Ironically, 3 days later, my friend saw a post that I was there, and he was like, hey, I can connect you with one of the teams that I used to play with. So he got me a tryout over there, and boom, I landed a contract in Malta.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So did you have to try out? How does that work?
Yeah. Great question. So yeah, I arrived to the practice. It was pretty much like a two-day tryout. Like, I pretty much just went straight into practice with the team. And then, yeah, we came to an agreement with a contract, and then boom, they were like, we'll sign you. I already had my visa from Germany, so I had a European visa. So it was a quick, easy process. So yeah, so I ended up I was playing there for, January all the way till May. And then they went into their first lockdown. So that was the end of that after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. What was after Malta?
Portugal. Yep. Okay. So that's the start of Portugal. So after the season in Malta, because they went into their first lockdown very late. So I spent lockdown in 3 different countries. So this was in May 2021. So now I go back to the States. So that was my first. So remember, this is my first time back in the States now since I left for England when I graduated in 2019. Yeah. So yeah, it was that was my first time back. And so basically I got back to the States and I just couldn't do Mass. Like, I just couldn't do Massachusetts. I grew up there, everything happened over there, the struggle, everything. So I kind of was like, when I got back, my friend was living in Arizona at the time. So he let me, I went over there for the summer, and that was now operation. I'm locked in to get to Portugal. Right. So how did Portugal come about was when I was living in England, my first year abroad, I redid my trips from high school when I was living in England. So I redid Paris and Barcelona because it was like a deja vu moment. I actually remember on my Instagram, I was like, I'm going to be back here one day. And then boom, I redid those trips. So when I got to Barcelona for the second time, remember, I'm thinking I'm also starting to plan life after ball. So I'm like, okay, I think it's Barcelona. I get there the second time, Rick, Khaleesi, I'm like, it's not it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it didn't vibe.
It didn't hit. So I'm like,
yeah, same thing. I had the same feeling.
Because we were moving to Barcelona.
Yeah, I fell in love with Barcelona the first time.
Yeah.
And that's what made me say, I could live here.
Yeah.
And I want to live here.
Yeah. I feel like everybody, and I didn't know what it was. Like, I literally remember, I'm looking around, I'm like, so after the Barcelona trip, I go back to England. I literally remember like sitting in my studio. I'm like, damn, what was it about Barcelona? I didn't, I'm thinking it was it. I speak Spanish. I'm reflecting on the first trip. The first time I'm there, I'm in high school, right? So first time in Europe, we party until 7 a.m. We, eating paellas, like, so, but I'm just like, I didn't know what it was. So 2 weeks later was when I went to Lisbon. So my friend from high school, who I also went to college with, was studying abroad in Barcelona at the time. So again, something that a lot of y'all don't know that have left the States. Think of like, you go to New York for the weekend. That's a 3-4 hour. We fly into other countries every week. Like on Monday, hey, where are we going this weekend? That's right. How easy accessible Europe is. So he came to England. I went to Spain. His birthday was 2 weeks later. And then he was like, yo, let's go to Portugal for my birthday. So I got to give him a shout out. I was like, Portugal? I was like, yeah. I mean, I was, because looking to play pro in Spain, Portugal, or Italy. I was just thinking the warm country. So I knew about Portugal, but he was like, yeah, let's go to Lisbon. I'm like, all right, cool. So, I mean, soon as I get there. So here's my 3-day weekend in Portugal. We land in Portugal, and remember, I'm coming from England, so I have a hoodie on in the winter. I have layers on, hoodie, a trench coat. I step foot into the country, boom, a heat wave hit. I said, what? What the? I had to like check the date because I was like, what's like, we're in the winter. I'm like, it's warm. Take off my trench coat. I look up. You know how when you leave the airport, you see the welcome to looking at properties in Portugal, visit Idealista sign?
Yes.
So I see that, and I see palm trees. Remember, I'm Caribbean. So I see palm trees in Europe. I said, what? So right away, I'm just like, okay, I'm loving this place already. All just from that. So now when everyone comes to visit me in Portugal, I have them walk out that specific door and I say, look right and up. Just so they get that. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, I'm feeling it. So weather check, sign literally check, palm trees check. We get in the Uber. We're on our way to the Airbnb. First interaction with the local. Hey, where you guys from? Oh, we're from the States, but I live in England. He's in Spain. He's like, welcome to Portugal, one of the most beautiful cities in Europe. He knew I had went to Paris, Barcelona. He was like, here in Lisbon, think of Lisbon as an architecture, as a poor man's Paris, but Barcelona's weather and vibes. I said, okay. Like he was just very, very welcoming. Like in Paris, we're able to get by because I can speak the French, but the welcoming is not there. So I'm like, wow, okay. I'm looking out the window. I'm in awe. Like I'm in awe. I'm like a Haitian just arriving to the States. Like I'm in awe. Like I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. We get to our Airbnb street. I'm blanking on the name. But we stayed on the street that had all Brazilians.
Oh, so interesting. What neighborhood was it?
I'm blanking.
Do you know about where it was?
Sorry?
Do you know about where it was?
So we're if you go to the like Chiado, and if you keep going straight, you kind of have like that plaza in the center. Mm-hmm. We kind of went like down that street. We're down that street more.
Towards Rato?
No, that's Bica.
No.
So you have Chiado, then you have Baixa Chiado. And if you keep going, it's Bica.
Bica, it might have been. I can even check on the Airbnb app because we booked it.
But if you keep walking down that street, you end up at that park, Ratu. That's where I walked when I met Alex.
Right. Yeah, that's further down, closer, like in between there and LX Factory, right?
No, it's not that close to LX. There's a big cathedral and a park right across the street from it. A real nice park.
Yeah, I remember a lot of Brazilians over there, though. So yeah. Interesting. So you were feeling the vibe because Brazilians have a Caribbean feel to them, to their culture.
At least you know what she's saying. So I get there. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, we couldn't even get to our Airbnb because I stopped and I'm dancing in the street. I'm like, whoa. So it was just amazing, So I felt that culture, felt that vibe. Our first meal was at a Brazilian restaurant. I actually went back there 3 years later, so recently, and it was the same chef in the back, and she remembers me because I was saying, I'm going to come back.
Is that the place that you posted and you walked by? That wasn't that one. You posted and you're like, I just walked by and there was a party going on in this restaurant, so I stopped and
oh no, not that one. Yeah, I'll send it to you guys. I'll try to find it. But yeah, so that's Friday, right? So we get there Friday. We went out that night, everything's fine. So Saturday, we go to Praça do Comércio. So I have a thing where everywhere I travel, because I love to dance as well, I always try to find, the main plazas in each city to do dance videos and stuff like that. We get to Praça do Comércio. I'm like, this place looks extravagant, you know?
Yeah, it is pretty. It is pretty awesome.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah. And me and my friend are making a dance video. We couldn't even really get into it because he didn't bring the speaker, so I couldn't even hear it well. So we stopped that. As we're leaving, Rick and Alisi, there's a group of Black girls that come out of nowhere. They're all dressed the same. They put a box on the floor that has like their Instagram and socials, and then boom, they just start dancing. Now this is African music. I'm like, whoa, what are y'all doing here? So I stopped my friends. I'm like, nah, we're stopping to watch this. We were there for about like an hour. They're dancing, they're performing. They called me and my friend into the circle, everything. So it was just.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. As we're leaving, I was like, we take pictures, everything like that. I was like, hey, I'm like, I got to ask them where we're from. Because remember, we're from the States. So when we travel, especially in Europe, and we see Black people, like, I want to know what boat did y'all family come from? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm like, where y'all from? They're like, we're from Cabo Verde. I was like, Cabo Verde. I was like, Cape Verde. I was like, y'all Cape Verdean? They're like, yeah. I'm like, you guys live here? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm coming back to move here. Just like that. I just said it. I was like,
so let me get this straight. So you saw these beautiful women, because Cape Verdeans are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw these beautiful girls, women, young ladies, and you like, yeah, this is where I'm coming back to. It was all about that. It was all about, come on, LaBoss, tell the truth. Tell the truth.
No, so these were young girls, to give you guys context. Like, these were young girls, yeah.
Like high school?
Yeah, maybe even younger, maybe like middle school. Yeah.
Girls.
The reason why I said that was because
they had big sisters.
No, not even. I put 2 and 2 together. Cape Verdeans live here, right? I'm like, y'all live here. So Portugal colonized Cape Verde. And remember, I'm from Massachusetts. Massachusetts has the biggest migration of Portuguese, Brazilians, and Cape Verdeans. So I'm like, I'm right at home, but in Portugal, right? Not like, so that's why. And I was just like, and it also was because I seen the Brazilians, right? We were out in the street during the day. I'm seeing just diversity. And then once I saw that group, I'm thinking like, they're just here to perform. They're like, no, we live here. That's what I didn't have in Barcelona.
Nope.
No.
And when we went back the second time, we had the same experience in Barcelona that you did. It's like, okay, so first of all, where'd all the Black folks go? Where'd they go? This is a little weird. They were there and now they're gone.
I was like, yo, thank you. And I didn't know what that was. So I'm like, when I get to Lisbon, diverse. I'm like, bingo. So yeah. That was day 2. Then the next day, to get to your point, Halisi, yes, we had met some beautiful women, at the restaurant. They're Cape Verdean. My friend was Cape Verdean, but from the US. So I'm meeting more. We're meeting more. And I was just like, okay, I was like, no, this is home. I was like, I'm not coming back to live here. I was like, this is home. So I just knew. Just like that. I went to a Sporting Lisbon football match, the vibes. And the one thing I can say, and we'll get into this, like the Portuguese were very welcoming in multiple different settings, right? I've been to a lot of European countries. I was like, I haven't seen a group of Europeans that are this integrated with the foreigners here in Lisbon, at least, right? So
I agree.
Yeah. So So that's how I knew I was coming to Portugal. So when I ended up back in Arizona that summer, I was head down. I'm only signing a contract in Portugal. So start of the Portugal journey. Months go by, I didn't hear nothing. I go to church that day, I'm praying. I get back home, like the second I turn off the car, I got a call from the agent. He was like, I got a team that's interested. He was like, it's in Almada, Portugal. He was like, it's right over the bridge from Lisbon. Because remember, when you land a contract, that's the thing about professional basketball. You don't have really like a preference on where you're going to end up. Like you just land a contract and you're there. you know?
Right.
He was like, it's in Almada, Portugal. He was like, it's right over the bridge from Lisbon, and the next city is the beach. I was like, I'm going. Send me the contract. I didn't even care about the money, nothing, because I was also trying to live there. So my goal was to go there, play, get my foot in the door. I'll figure everything else out from there.
And so for those of you who don't know, Almada is basically a suburb of Lisbon proper. It literally is a 10-minute ferry ride from the city center. And that's where Rick and I stayed on
that's where we went when we went on our
scouting
trip.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I wasn't trying to pay those Lisbon Airbnb prices.
Yeah.
And I waited too late. I booked kind of late. I probably would have gotten better prices had we booked earlier, but I didn't. And so I was like looking on the map. I was like, what's that little area right there? And then I started reading. They're like, oh, it's just a 10-minute ferry ride and blah, blah, whoop-de-woo. And it's only like, €1 to cross. I was like, oh, okay. I can be like outside of the tourist area, but in the tourist area in 10 minutes.
Easy. So
easy peasy.
So I get to, so this is now August 2021. I get to Portugal and I'm like, this is,
I'm here.
I check in my stuff, drop the suitcase. I went to the beach. I went to Caparica Beach. I'm like, I'm here.
It's a beautiful beach.
It's beautiful. And the one thing I really love about Lisbon is within 20 minutes, you got beach, you got city, you got mountains, Sintra, you got forest, like everything within a very close vicinity, Yeah. So, yeah.
And all accessible through the Metro card.
Exactly. I got mine right here.
There you go. So obviously you don't have a car. You don't need a car anymore.
Don't need a car. No. Don't need a car.
Okay. So you played for the Portuguese team for how long?
For 1 year. Well, more or less like 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're the ones who got you your visa.
Whoo! We going.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So give you guys context. So when I arrived to Portugal, the agent told me, you're fine to get into the country. The team will get you your visa once you're there and settled. I'll give you an invitation to the country, et cetera, et cetera. In my head, I'm like, I don't care. Just get me the flight. I just need to get to Portugal. I was, like I said, first time back home in the States. It was just time to get back. And again, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I'm about this process and all that. I'm thinking I'm good, right? So this is 2021, guys. So to give you guys context, this is post-COVID. Seth at the time is not issuing appointments, which even living here, I see that this is an ongoing thing, right? So as an American, you get 3 months in the country. So the team was like, we'll take care of it while you're here, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, cool. Just handle the visa. So 3 months goes by. There was a situation where I forgot what, it was in St. Liush. We went to some government building to try to handle everything with me and 2 of the other teammates. I don't speak no Portuguese at the time, so I don't really know what's being said, et cetera. Basically, from my understanding, if you were in the country before 2022, you're fine. Your visa is basically extended for the year of 2022 because they don't have issued appointments. So guys, remember that context. But
I remember that time because of COVID, we were seeing that, people were getting their tourist visas and everything else extended because stuff was closed.
Everything
was closed, right? So one thing I just remember, get it in writing, so I would tell them, hey guys, just I need it in writing. Give it to me in writing, right? So now the new year comes, the season goes by, still don't have it. And remember, this is my job. So I'm not thinking about the operations. Did y'all get this now? I'm thinking I'm good, right? I played in Germany, I played in England, I played in Malta. I never had this situation. So now May comes, basically our contract got cut short. We lost the game. So this is what happens in the professional basketball world too. And and this happens in multiple countries, whatever it is. Remember, these visas, sometimes if you don't make playoffs, they won't get you that like extended visa, because for them it's looking like, why are we going to pay for that visa if you didn't make playoffs and we're not, you know? So people go home all the time, people get cut, get sent back. Like, it's a very unstable type of thing. It's not like the NBA, you're guaranteed 2 years, all this money, et cetera, et cetera. So we basically lost the game we should have won, which was on us, right? Take full ownership of that. And also, pretty much, me and the other American got called into the office. It was a situation that, you know, they tried to help these two staff members. They tried to help. I genuinely knew who in the organization, you know, wanted to try to help, wanted us to, you know, get situated, etc. But the reality is, they didn't get us our visa. The situation with pretty much like finances and not handling our apartment situation. So that's another thing about these overseas contracts. They're in charge of your visa. They're in charge of your housing, your transportation. Pretty much everything is in their hands. And we don't put stuff in humans' hands, right? You know? So all that happens. So we had to go. So this is now May 2022. I have 3 days to leave Portugal. Or I would have technically been like now on the like non-legal side, right? Because I didn't have the visa or anything. 3 days. I get back to my spot in Malta. I'm like, what is going on? You know, I'm like, this is the start of a movie now. So, guys, when the goal was to not go back, you know? So I pretty much I went to London. So pretty much like, it's basically a brother to me. I call him my brother. I met him when I was out in England. He lives in London. So I pretty much called him. I was like, yo, listen, man. I was like, contract just got cut short. Y'all know I ain't going back to the States. I'm like, listen, can I just come over to your spot? I need just a couple of weeks to just figure life out. Like, what's my next step, right? He's like, I got you. So I'm there in London. And now, to be honest, when I was in Portugal, I was racking up travel rewards points, right, from credit cards, because my goal was to travel Europe to do my first Euro trip after the season.
Okay.
And guys, everybody that's listening that hasn't traveled outside the US, I can fly to Paris for $50, $60. So I'm racking up points to do a Euro tour and to get all these flights. So when I get to London, you know, after like a week or two of just being out of it, and now like, wow, like what am I doing, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let me just start this Euro trip early, you know? Like, so from there, I went from London, Mykonos, Greece. That flight was like 56, right? I go to, and again, rewards points. Greece is the only place I didn't stay in a hostel because I was like, I'm going to Greece. Let me treat myself. You know what I'm saying? So I used the points, stayed in a nice place. I have a vlog of it, everything. I'm like, I'm in Greece. I ain't going back. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know? So from London to Greece, I did a whole Euro tour. I went from London to Greece. I went to Greece. I would go to Italy. I went to Venice, Milan, and Rome, right? I was like, I'm in Rome. I'm in Rome eating pizza. You know,
it's pretty amazing. I mean, you just walk down the street and there's ruins everywhere. And
oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a magical movie scene.
It really is.
It truly is.
You don't see us there though. You don't see a lot of us.
No, not a lot of us.
No, but it is beautiful. Like I see why they say like when in Rome, or they say fall in love in Rome, whatever. You know, I'm in the Trevi Fountain. It was amazing. So after Italy, I went to Prague. I went to Czech Republic. Another beautiful, beautiful city line, everything. Then Prague, I went to, I think, Malaga. Then I came back to Portugal, right? Amazing time. Went to Afro Nation. My friends from the States came up for the first time. Now they're starting to see, oh, I get it now. Yeah, I'm like, come on this side, baby. Yep. So that was just an amazing 3 months. So then I went to, after they left, I went to Marrakesh, Morocco for my birthday. All on the points, stayed in a Riyadh, just amazing. And then now I I have to go back to the States now because I have a best friend that he's from England that's getting married. So he's from the States, but he ended up in England the same year I did. Met a British girl there. She's Jamaican British, but they're getting married in the States. So I'm like, oh. So I'm going back to the States now, and then also just some like personal stuff that I had to go handle. So from Marrakesh, Morocco, I go to Colombia. Now, boom, I'm in the States. I'm in Delaware. I'm in a motel. I'm like, whoa. You can't do a Euro tour, Marrakesh, Morocco, Colombia, and then the US. I call the first Uber ride. I said, God, please, I can't do this.
Right. And here's the other thing. Like, I even got my feelings hurt a little bit in Brussels and Spain with these Uber rides because we're spoiled here.
Yeah, we are truly.
In Portugal, we are. These Bolt rides are just, I feel bad sometimes.
Well, Bolt, at least what I've been told is the drivers get a higher percentage. So I always try to use Bolt.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes I go to Uber depending upon if they're busy or whatnot. But yeah.
That makes sense.
So yeah. But yeah, we're spoiled.
Yeah, we definitely are.
So you're in Delaware. Is it summertime or wintertime?
It was summertime. It was August.
Okay. So at least it wasn't cold. Yeah,
it wasn't cold. So, great time with the, close friend, amazing wedding, etc. So after Delaware, I end up back in Massachusetts now, right? So remember, basketball is now over. After that situation happened with the team, I had one thing clear. I was like, I am no longer letting any club, anything like that, anybody be in control of my life, right? Like, I'm thankful for basketball. It was my ticket. It was my grind to get me over there, right? But now I started to idolize it to a certain extent. My goal was to just play for as many years as possible, start side businesses on the side. Like when I was home in the summers, I was trying to do like a trucking business, churro business, and then manage it while I'm abroad. But I just wasn't stable, right? Because I'm moving, the housing is in their hands, the visa is in their hands, everything. So I was like, okay, I need to lock in. I need to get me. So I ended up back in Mass. I didn't tell nobody, like, because I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. Like I was clear, right? I got Portugal. Like once you find it, you find it. I think if I hadn't found that, I would have played maybe a year or two more. But once I found the home, I was like, overseas was not about basketball. It was about finding a home, and I did. Right. So I'm back in the States, Rick Halisi. I go lock in mode. I'm like, okay, I'm going back to Portugal. Life after ball. I don't know nothing about visas, no nothing. So at the end of my season in Portugal, I had torn my shoulder. Thankfully, they got the health insurance and they signed everything off from the team. So I had the treatment ready for when I get back. They were very helpful with that. So my plan was I'm going to go back, start my treatment, right? I'll stay in a hostel, right? Because guys, I didn't make money like that while playing professionally. I was on low teams, right? It takes years to build up. So I barely have any money. But while I was doing that Euro tour, I think it was Italy, I met a girl. She was traveling. She was from South America, but she was traveling the world, right? And I asked, I talk to people. So I'm like, hey, if you don't mind me asking, because here's the thing about us, right? We don't have mommy, daddy money covering our trips, right? So I got friends that they doing a year off, I'm like, nah, I don't got that. So I asked her, I'm like, hey, if you don't mind me asking, she's Latina. I was like, how are you doing housing? Like, how are you affording this through housing? She was like, oh, there's this, I think it's called workaway.com. Yeah, workaway info. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's like you sign up to volunteer in hostels, you find hostel jobs, and in exchange, they give you housing. And you pretty much stay with the other volunteers. I was like, people are doing that with traveling. I'll do that while I'm lifing to get off your biggest expense is rent. So I also met another person, I think it was in Malta. He was managing a building. It was like a hostel guest house, private room, but shared common living room, bathroom and everything. He had one room. He's managing the building. He gets the room for free. I'm like, okay, I'm doing that in Portugal. So I go lock-in mode. I go to where I was staying at the time. I didn't even have Wi-Fi. So I'm waking up every day. I'm going to McDonald's. I'm on my computer, and I'm just now applying to every single hostel in Lisbon. If you name it, I apply to it. I applied to everything. I was like, I'm operation to get back. So I landed one, and they would give me, I'd volunteer for 8 hours, which is a long shift. I should have chosen maybe another one with 4 hours. You volunteer, they give you a housing, they give you a small stipend of 40 euros a week for groceries. I was like, listen, I'm from the struggle. I'll make it stretch, you know. In Lisbon, and that's the thing about Europe, guys, and definitely I would say Portugal to another extent. Lisbon, and this was also 3 years ago, which is cheaper than now. Right. It's not. You're eating fresh food, and it's accessible, and it's not too crazy expensive, you know. And they also gave us breakfast at the hostel. I was like, I'm good, guys. I'm good.
So one meal was covered.
One meal was covered.
Yeah, and then the 40 just had to do the others.
Yep, one meal was covered, so I just had to do lunch and dinner, 40 euros a week, and then that's free housing. So now I'm in the States. So here's the start of the madness. So I leave the States. So this is now October 10/11/22. I will never forget this day. I leave the US to now fly to Portugal. Now, guys, this is no basketball now. This is life after ball. I put everything in one suitcase. If it didn't fit that suitcase, it went off to the side. And now I'm lifing in Portugal. Like I said, my plan was to do the treatment. I was interested in getting into real estate at the time. So I was like, let me do the treatment. That'll take some time. I had a very bad torn shoulder. And then I'll start looking for jobs from there. I didn't want to stay in the States. Let me try to figure it out from there. No, if you find it, you got to just go and figure it out there, you know? And I remember vividly when I got back to the States, I went to visit that same mentor that guided me to England, because I was in a state of like awe at that time. Because again, I grew up, struggle, homeless. Now I'm in Europe, living great, affordably, etc. I get back and it's like, so I went to go talk to him. So he did what I did 20 years ago. He played in Switzerland, Italy, Spain, England. So I asked him, I'm like, I went to visit him I was like, D, I got to come visit you I got to come visit you. He's like, I'm at work. I was like, I got to come visit you. Can I just please come? I visited him at work. I asked him, I was like, yo, if you don't mind me asking, and he's in his late 40s now. I was like, why did you go back? He sat back in his chair.
When you say go back, were you asking why did he come back to the States?
The States, yeah, sorry. I didn't, yeah. So he went abroad. He went to college, did the whole abroad for like 5-6 years, and he ended up back in the States.
Right.
So, and he never told me why. So basically he told me, the plan was to never go back. I was like, so why did you come back? He was like, listen, life happened. He landed a contract in Switzerland while also landing a situation to work at a boarding school there, right? And teach. That's another thing. Like, guys, English is very spoken everywhere, right? So they need English speakers. So if you're trying to get abroad and you just need to figure it out, teach for a year, right? You know, you got a lot of people in the UAE making salaries, not getting taxed, just teaching English. So something happened with the contract and the job. Everything kind of just went to scraps, like in like a couple of days, and then also some personal stuff back home. So he ended up having to go home. That was he ended up back in the States. 2 weeks later, he gets offered a job, the job that he has now. Couple time later, meets a girl who's now his wife, you know? So he pretty much told me, he was like, I have the job, I have the wife, I have the kids. He was like, well, my job is golden handcuffs. I was like, golden handcuffs? I'm like, what that mean? He was like, it's golden handcuffs. You know, he was like, I let go of this job. It's a situation that would not make sense. He was like, listen, I'm going to tell you something. He was like, if you love Portugal the way you do, and I know you do, he was like, my advice to you is to go and just figure it out. He was like, don't wait here. He was like, because he was like, you're going to end up getting a job. You're going to end up meeting, like, life is going to happen. He was like, I'm speaking from experience. He was like, go. I was like, thank you. I was like, I'm going.
Bye.
I was like, I'm going. And I already knew that, but it was kind of just like, he did it 20 years later. Like, and he's a very successful financial advisor. He set up his life. He does like 3-4 trips a year with his family. He brings them to London. They go to Paris. So, but he was just like, go and figure it out. Like, this is the Europe, he knows. So when I left Portugal, I took everything. I put it in my suitcase. I was like, all right, I'm out. So I arrived to Portugal. I get to customs. How you doing? Welcome to Portugal. What are you doing here? I was like, oh, how you doing? I'm back here to get treatment on my shoulder. She goes, okay, let me see can I see your passport? Can I see your visa? I hand her my passport. She goes, oh, if you're getting treatment, you should have a medical visa. That's where I messed up. I shouldn't have said that, right? Because I'm thinking I have 3 months. I have a tourist visa. In those 3 months, I would have just figured it out. But since I said I was getting the treatment, now she's asking all the questions. I'm like, oh, snap. So she goes, let me see. So she's going through my passport. She's taking time, Rick Halisi. She's taking time. She brings a pen and paper out. She's writing stuff down. She's waving at people behind me to go. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, man, what's the situation? She goes, just give me a second. She's taking time. She goes, we have come with me. We have a problem. I said, whoa. When you listen, I'm a traveler. When you hear that in the airport, that is just not good. And she didn't tell me. So I'm like, man, what's the problem? She goes, just come with me. She brings me to immigration. She goes, sit here. This may take a while. I said, what? She doesn't hand me my passport. I said, whoa. So I'm in immigration now with the Cape Verdeans and the Brazilians. I'm like,
this is the black stop.
I'm like, this is
the black stop.
I'm like, this is the side of the airport you do not see. And to be honest, and again, so I'm in there for some time just waiting. As I'm also waiting, people are getting sent back. I said, whoa, what is going? So now I think it's after maybe like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. So give you guys context. I got to give you context the whole time. I land at 11 a.m. This is maybe now 2:33 p.m. Officer brings me into to his room, to the room, calls my name, brings me into the room. He goes, I'm sorry to inform you, but you're illegal. We're sending you back to Boston. I said, what? He's like, you're illegal. I said, sir, sorry. What are you talking about? He's like, you're illegal. You're overstayed. I was like, overstayed? Sir, I just got here. Because again, guys, I'm confused. Remember, guys, when I get sent to immigration, I have no idea why. The man doesn't tell me anything. Now he's saying I'm illegal. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're overstayed. You've been here since August 2021. Remember, guys, this is October 2022 now. So I said, August 2021. I'm thinking for a second. I said, when I was playing basketball? He was like, you playing basketball here? I was like, yes, I was playing professional basketball here in Portugal. He said, can you show me? In my head, I'm like, sir, you think I'm lying about playing professional basketball? I'm like, all right, sure. So I got to show him my basketball contract. I even showed him pictures. Like, I'm showing him everything. I'm showing him the contract.
Here's me with a layup.
Yep. I show him the doctor's note for my shoulder, for the treatment, everything. So now he's confused. I'm like, sir, you can't be confused because, and guys, also, sorry. This is when I speak Portuguese very well now. I don't speak no Portuguese at this time, and his English is not great. So this is a very I'm taking out.
It's a difficult conversation.
Difficult conversation. I'm taking out my phone. I'm like, can you Google translate that? And with the Portuguese, the language is also difficult because different people have strong accents. Yeah, so I couldn't understand him at all. So now he's confused. I had to call. I called a couple people, So, but I first call my trainer to speak with him, right? I'm like, hey, can you please explain to him I was here playing basketball? I think he just needs another confirmation. And can you explain to him I tore my shoulder? I'm back to get the treatment, yada, yada, yada. I give him the phone. They're conversating, et cetera, et cetera. And after like a couple minutes, he puts me back on the phone. I'm like, hey, what's the situation? He goes, listen. He's like, the team might have put you in an effed up spot. You may have to go back to get your visa. I said, what? And then he hung up. I said, okay, what is going on? I'm so confused, right? So now he's trying to ask me about like visas and all that stuff. Yada, yada. I was like, oh, well, I mean, when I was here, the team said I was fine. I had arrived before. So now I bring up the whole, I arrived in 2021. They said if I was that law that if you were in the country before 2022, since there were no appointments, we're extending your visa now. He didn't even know about that law. I'm like, how y'all not know about
I knew about it, and I was in America.
I'm like, how y'all know about this? How y'all not, So I call another friend of mine who was also living in Portugal when I did, to explain this law situation and the 2022, yes and that. Now he's trying to say, oh, I'm not sure or aware about this. Guys, one thing about Portugal, you're going to get stressed out trying to get information from other people because whatever officer you speak to, lawyer you speak to, immigration officer, when you go for your appointment, everybody it's just different. It's just different, right? So he's now telling my friend on the phone, oh, I'm not sure about this. You might even be illegal. He said, what? So he puts me on the phone. He's like, yo, don't tell my name, nothing. I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna. It was
don't rat me out.
Yeah. He was like, so I'm like, goodness. So now I call the president now of the club of the
team.
basketball club. Yeah. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm in immigration right now because someone didn't do their job. I don't know what the situation is. I'm getting denied entry into the country. Could you please send me what you guys said you had, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, I can't help. He couldn't help me right now because of a crazy medical situation that was happening. So he was like, call the vice president. I said, okay, thank you. Call the vice president. He now says, oh, okay, well, give us a little bit. We had like our daughter fill out the situation. In my head, I'm like, what kind of club? What organization? Like, what is this? Right? So I'm like, okay. So now I wait probably like 20, 30 minutes. He sends me an email of the information of everything, etc. So I speak no Portuguese. So I open up my computer. I'm like, okay, I just see my name. I'm like, okay, I'm good. So I give the computer to the officer. I literally just turn it over. I was like, I'm good, right? Can I go? So he's looking at it for a couple minutes. He goes, I see now. I said, what's the situation? He was like, the team started your application, but they never submitted it. You're not in the system. I said, wow. So guys, remember context, that law, if you're in the country before 2021, you have an extension on your 2022 if you have an appointment.
Right.
If you submitted it, now you're awaiting I just had information filled out, not actually submission for the appointment and the paperwork. So the whole time I'm in Portugal, and remember, the EU operates as one. The whole time I'm doing that Euro tour, I'm undocumented, non-legal.
Oh my God. Thank God you stayed in the EU.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that. Alicia, it's funny you say that. That's another reason why I went to London when I first left Portugal, because London is no longer
the EU.
They're still Europe. They're still Europe, but it's not part of the European Union because of Brexit. So I was also thinking if I go to, because I didn't know about the visa situation at the time. So I'm thinking if I go to London, I'm getting that UK stamp now. I'm also starting over my 90 days.
Right.
But again, something else you don't know, you have 90 days so it's 3 months within 6 months. So you have 3 months, but you have to leave for 3 months. I was only in London for 3 weeks.
You thought you were making a border run.
I thought I was making a border run. I get to Greece, I get to Italy, I'm in all this. I'm just adding on to the days that I've been here, just adding on, and I have no idea. So now I'm so before, remember, I'm there, I'm annoyed, right? I'm a little stressed because like I got to Portugal, I was planning to go to the beach, everything. And again, I didn't know what the situation was. When I was waiting in immigration, Rick, you know, Halisi ever message you and say, we need to talk, right? You start thinking about it.
Yeah, well, what I didn't did, or yeah.
What you didn't do, look how
exactly.
You know, what you didn't do, what you thought you didn't do, what you thought you did, what you did. So that's me in immigration. I'm reflecting on my whole time in Portugal. I'm like, what did I do? You know what I'm saying? Now I realize why I'm being denied. I'm now pissed. I'm irritated. So I was like, officer, I kept my cool. I'm like, officer, listen, because somebody didn't do their job, I can't be denied entry into the country, right? And I take ownership of it, right? I didn't. We'll get into that. I could have, you know, when I didn't officially get my visa, stopped going to practice, or, you know, I didn't know about the whole traveling and adding on to the days, etc. But again, the plan was to stay, right? I don't have finances in order. This is why you got to get your finances right. Because I could have gone and left and rented an apartment, no longer, you know what I'm saying? So over time, I was like, you know what? I take full ownership, and I'm not going to put blame on others, because this is why I had to just figure all this out on my own and get situated, you know? So I'm telling this to the officer at the time. I'm like, hey, so you can't deny me entry because of this, right? I didn't even know about this. And he knows, like he's feeling bad for me, right? He was like, listen, I'm sorry, but you're still denied. I said, yo, he was like, honestly, I would let you in here, but my higher up knows about this case because you've been here for hours. Like you're overstayed. He's like, you're denied. He was like, we're sending you back to Boston. I was like, I promise you I'm not going back. Just like that. I looked at him, I was like, I promise you I'm not going back.
And he's like, well, the party's over. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here.
Yo, he's like, I was like, I promise you I'm not going back. He's typing. He looks at me when I say that. In my head, I'm like, oh, snap. And then he was like, what? I was like, I'll go to London. Just like that. I was like, I just said it. I was like, I'll go to London. I'm like, I got. He's like, you're gonna go to London? He's like, I got my brother over there. I was like, I'll go to London. He's like, listen, by law, we're supposed to send you back to where you came from. I sound like I'm fresh off the book. Like, he was like, by law, we're supposed to send you back to where you came from. But he was like, you've been very respectful, this and that. He was like, I'm seeing now this wasn't, you're causing. He's like, I'll let you go to London, but you have to pay for the flight, because they would have paid for the flight back to Boston.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting.
Cheaper to go to London.
Yeah, cheaper.
Yeah. And also my mindset too was like, I'll go to London and I'm gonna just figure it out. But remember, when I took my bag, I'm operation, I'm out. Like, I'm out. So this is just the first hurdle, but this ain't a hurdle. This is a triple jump.
Yeah. This is a wall that you got to climb over.
Wall. So this is now maybe what, 4:35 at this point, because we're in there the whole time. We're in the, so as I say that, I'll go to, so also too, guys, to give context, when you get denied, I'm a traveler. So I watch travelers, I watch travel vlogs. When you get denied entry into a country, and especially from being technically quote unquote illegal, you get a red X stamp on your passport, and you can potentially get banned for 10 years. I looked at him. I was like, officer, do not put that on my passport. Please. And I was like, do not put this in the system, because I'm obviously not telling them I'm going to find my way back over here. So I don't want it to creep back up. You know what I'm saying? He was like, okay, I won't. So now I'm booking my flight to London. I'm booking my flight to London. I now remember I don't even have my suitcase. Because remember, I never
That's
got
right. That's right. So it's sitting down there going around the thing.
I landed at 11 a.m. This is maybe like 5 something this point.
Oh, now it's at lost and found.
Listen. So I told him, I was like, officer, listen, you guys never let me through customs. I don't have my bags. He's like, okay, I'm going to have to escort you. I'm like, y'all act like I'm a fugitive. You got to escort me down there.
You get outside like, go.
So now he brings me down there. I'm looking for the bag. I don't see it. I'm in lost and found. I tell them the number, etc. The lady goes, I'm sorry to inform you, but your bags never arrived. I said,
where your stuff at?
This is a long day. I'm like, ma'am, I flew from Boston overnight, one way. What do you mean my bags never arrived? Oh, it's not here. Now I'm heated. The officer, he gives me the man. He's like, you're having a long day. I'm like, oh, don't touch me. Don't listen. Like, don't touch me. Like I'm like, ma'am, please. Could you just go look for my, like, what are you saying? My bags never arrived. She's like, I don't see it here, this and that. We try, etc. So now I look at the officer. I'm listen, you can't send me to London without my bags. He goes, listen, you're either going to London or Boston without your bags. He was like, what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to get there, file a claim. The airport will have to ship it to you. As soon as he said that, I was like, it's a lost cause. TAP Air Portugal is not shipping nothing to another country. I'm like, it's a lost cause. It's a lost cause. So now I go back upstairs. I booked the flight. He goes, listen, you've had a long day. We're about to feed everybody food. My flight to London is the next day. So it's the next morning. So I have to spend the night in the airport. There was no more flights that day. Just watch how everything unfolds. So he was like, we're going to feed everybody food, and then I'll walk you to the gate after. So as he's saying that, a Brazilian mom is getting sent back. She has a baby and her baby and she's crying, getting sent back. I'm like, wow, this is the side you don't see. So I'm in there. I'm in immigration now, eating jail food. I'm never going to jail. Eating jail food dinner, and I'm just like, wow, this really happened. So eat dinner. He now walks me to the gate. This is a couple hours later. Maybe like 8:39 at this point. He walks me to the gate. Rick Halisi. He's walking me to the gate. He goes, word of advice. He's like, you're American. I'm like, where's he going with this? He was like, next time you come to Portugal, just say you're here visiting a girl. Just say you're here on vacation. He's like, you're fine. You're American. It's the Brazilians we're worried about. I said, wow. First time in my life, I realized I had privilege.
Yeah.
That situation could have gone far south, overstayed in a country for a year, could have been arrested, could have been banned, everything. American passport. It's the Brazilians.
Now we know why the white folks be fighting so hard to keep that privilege. Yeah, I said it.
He hands me the passport. I'm like, did he just say that to me? I'm walking. I'm like, wow.
But he handed you your passport back.
Yeah. So they had my passport the whole time.
Seemed like he would have held on to it and they would have had it sent to the gate in the morning or something instead of giving it back.
Well, he walked me to the gate. So he was pretty much there making sure, like, I don't take it and run or something, you know?
But then he left you.
Yeah, because now I'm through the gate. So I'm through it's more like, I think it was in Terminal 2. It's the next terminal. So now I'm walking through. Basically, it's like I can't re-enter type area.
Okay.
Right. Because then you go through the situation all over again because you'd have to go back through security and all of that. Exactly.
Okay. So I'm just getting to it. So now I find my gate. My flight to London is the next morning. So there's not a soul in the airport. This is maybe like a Wednesday night. It's late. I'm sitting there. I'm like, this really just I got denied entry. I'm like, what? I don't even know how to process this. I'm mad, frustrated, irritated, confused, right? I start praying, I'm meditating, I'm trying to calm myself. So I'm like, God, what's up? I'm like, it's like you showed me Portugal. This was clear. Like, how did this? Everything made sense. And now I'm going to London. I got no money. Like, what am I going to do? Like, it's like, I literally remember ending off the prayer with, listen, I'm going to London. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure it out. But I was like, I was like, but I trust you. Right. I was like, but I know if I get into Portugal, I'm supposed to be here. So now I texted my friend who works for the airline in the US. I said, hey, they said my bags never arrived. Could you just check the system for it, please, to see if it did? I fall asleep now. So this is flights to London the next morning. So maybe around like midnight, an angel came. He was an officer. He's doing rounds around the hospital, around the airport. I just get a nudge, wakes me up. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Remember, I'm the only one. I'm sleeping at the gate. And I was like, I have a flight to London the next morning. He's like, can you show me your flight, your pass? I show him my flight, pass, everything. As he's checking my passport, everything. I check my phone. I get a text from my friend. Yo, your bags arrived at 11:05 a.m. It's there. Remember, my flight arrived at 11. So the whole time my bag's there. So I'm like, what? When she said it never arrived. But look at how it worked out, though.
Yeah.
So now I told this to the officer. I was like, hey, listen, I didn't tell him the whole denial situation. But I'm like, hey, listen, I had a flight earlier. They said my bags never arrived. If you see this text here, they're saying it did. I got to, where could I because I forgot about like lost and found. I'm in a whole nother area now. I was like, how can I go get my bags? He said, oh, you'd have to go to lost and found. So when he said that, in my mind, I'm thinking like customs, and I just hear go. I'm like, all right, I'm going. So now I leave the area. I'm going through customs again, where I was 12 hours ago. There's not a soul in the airport. It's like a ghost town. This is like around midnight, pretty much the next day. So I'm looking. I see the workers. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to a female this time because she denied me. So I was like, let me see who looks nonchalant, chill. I see I see this officer. He had his feet up, magazine, beer, bingo. So I go to him. I'm like, I don't even say nothing at first. He says, what are you doing? I was like, how you doing? I got to go through. I just said, I have to get through to get my bags because of I have a flight that's to London. He's like, okay, let me see I show him my bag receipts. He's like, let me see your passport. He takes my passport. He's going through my passport. And now I'm I'm breathing.
Again.
I'm breathing. He sees remember when I lived in the UK, he sees my UK visa from 3 years ago. He goes like this. He goes, you don't need us to get in. You're American. You're good.
Wow.
Privilege.
Wow.
My passport. I'm so confused. I dropped my passport wallet stop playing. I was like, stop playing. I grab it. Now I'm in. I said, what? So now I go downstairs.
But you had prayed.
And put your trust.
Talk to me.
2 hours before.
Talk to me. So I was
right.
I said, what? Now, he didn't ask for no visa. They didn't ask for anything. Maybe he thought, okay, this guy's just going to London tomorrow. He has to go through to get his bags. I ain't asked questions. I'm in. So now I'm in. I'm so confused. I said, what? So now I go downstairs. I'm looking for my bags. It's not there. I don't see it around the belts. I'm in lost and found, flipping. This looks like a movie scene. I'm looking up to make sure there's no cameras, everything. I don't see my bags. So now I'm just like, man. So I call my mentor. So remember, I get denied. So the last call that I had with him was 4 or 5 hours later. Hey, I just got denied entry into Portugal. He said, what? And he's at work. He's like, what are you doing? What are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to London. He's like, okay, good. He's like, call me once you get to London. This is basically like my father. Now I call him at midnight. Well, our time. So for them, it was around 7 or 8, but earlier he was at work. He's like, you're already in London? I was like, no. I was like, I got in. He said, what? I was like, D, I got in. He was like, I don't know. I just got in. Now I'm trying to get my suitcase, but I can't find it. He's like, you got in? He was like, F the suitcase. You need to go. He was like, I don't know how you got in, but if someone from earlier, the workers see you, I'm like, you're right. Hang up. Boom. I walk out. Yo. So I leave the airport. As I'm walking out, officers coming in. I'm walking out. I look this way and I keep walking. Now I enter Portugal. I get into Portugal. I call my friend who I was supposed to go to the beach with earlier. I probably woke him up. I'm like, hey, yo, I got in. I'm like, listen, I'm at the airport. Don't ask no questions. Can you just please come get me? I was like, I'll tell you everything once you get here. He's like, okay, I got you. My Cape Verdean friend. Boom. That's how I get in.
Oh my gosh. So when did you get your bag?
Great question. I spent the first weekend. So now I'm in Portugal, right? I get in. I spend the night at his house. The next day, remember, I had the whole hostel situation set up. So I had called them when I was in that whole finasco situation. I'm like, hey, can you guys do like a visa upon arrival for me or something? They're like, no, it's a volunteer. It's not a professional it's not a work contract, all that. So they're under the impression I'm not coming. I told them, hey, I show up the next morning. They're like, what? I'm like, listen, I got, don't worry about it. So now I'm in the hostel. I spend the first week in the hostel with one outfit. Because my bag, my suitcase is in the airport. I'm not snitching on myself. I'm not going back.
You need to send somebody else back with your tickets.
Exactly. So when I'm every day, I'm calling them, I'm emailing them, trying to say, hey, could you mail it to this, send it to this? One of the colleagues was like, hey, listen, this is Portugal. They're not doing that. You got to just go get it. I'm like, nah. In my head, I'm like, nope, you don't know what I just went through. I'm not going back. I am not going to the airport. So honestly, guys, I literally was like, okay, because ironically, you have to really be careful what you wish for. Because I remember before I left the US and I was packing everything, I was like, you know what? These is all old clothes. I was like, I should just start fresh. I don't even think I want to bring this. But financially, I'm like, I can't just drop everything and I don't have all the finances to go pay for it and buy clothes. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. Once I'm off my feet, I'll wipe it clean. Now I have no suitcase. I'm like, oh, okay. So in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to just start trying to figure out and just buy stuff from, like, I'm starting life fresh. And then I think my friend was, how'd I get it back? My friend was going to Fez, Morocco for the weekend. And I told him, I was like, hey, try to see if you can get my bags on the way back. They said the same thing. Oh, his bags never arrived. I was like, yo, you need to be firm with them. And I'm like, you're Brazilian. Be firm right now. Tell them the bag is there. Tell them to go look. Everything. Like you just have to be firm with them. I sent them a picture of my receipts. They were like, oh, well, we need his signature. I was like, give me 2 minutes. I took a piece of paper. I signed the signature, scanned it. I sent it back to him. I was like, put it in their face. Go be firm. After like 30, 45 minutes, they threw it in it wasn't even lost and found anymore. It was in the basement. I get my suitcase back, dust on it, everything. Yeah, that was my first week in Portugal.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. So you have been here now, not including the basketball time, but since since you came back thinking that you were just going to chill in the hospital, get some medical work done, blah, blah, blah. That's been, well, where are we? 2024. So that's been 2 years.
2 years.
Was it worth it?
100%. 100%.
How is your life now?
Amazing. I'm blessed. I'm happy. I'm at peace. It was worth it. 100% worth it. When I got in, I was like, I'm going to figure out how to get everything from here, because being overstayed and everything, and now I got in. If I had left, now I'm definitely not getting, like, it's just, I got to just figure it out. There's always a way. So the past few years has just been head down, just figuring everything out from here.
Right. So basically, just to wrap up, you're totally legal now. You hired an attorney. He straightened everything out. And, you know, I know it doesn't happen overnight, but you got it all straightened out and everything's copacetic now.
Yep. Everything's good.
You know, I wonder, you know, it is amazing to me that other people can be so cavalier about, oh yeah, I forgot to turn in that paperwork. I mean, really? These are people's lives.
Right. Yeah.
And you just chilling at home, you know, eating a pastiche de nata, and I'm stuck up in here in airport prison.
Yeah.
Right? It was no skin off her back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But you know, the interesting thing about it is, you know, these trials are when we find out what we're made of. And just like when we had that conversation at my birthday, right?
Yeah.
And people are at, you know, well, you're stronger than I am. I don't know if I could do this, or you're more confident than I am. I don't know if I could do that. It's like, it's because I did it.
Right.
Right. It's because I persevered. It's because I got into some uncomfortable situations and had to stretch and, like you said, figure it out.
Yeah.
Then you look back and you're like, I did that shit.
Yeah. I did it. I went through like 3-4 lawyers, lost money, got screwed over, took it upon myself, gathered information from people, just figure it out. Ended up I went back to school. I went to university here in Portugal to study Portuguese, just to be able to be in rooms and communicate, right? Like immigration rooms, business rooms, whatever it is, and just not be an outsider and just step after step. And I ended up getting a lawyer months later that ended up helping with the situation and did everything from here. When one lawyer said, this is not possible, you have to go back to do this, I was like, all right, I'll take it from here.
So what's not going to happen is I ain't going back.
Yeah.
So you find the loophole. There's always a loophole.
So how long did it take you to really pick up the language or start to understand that language?
Yeah.
Great question. I say maybe 4 to 5 months. My first year here. Sorry?
But that's everyday studying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was 4 days a week, 4 hours a day. It was intense. And my first year here, I did live in Malta, which was, you know, a very residential area, less tourists. So I was always, you know, hearing it, around it. I was on Duolingo every day, but that was also Brazilian Portuguese. So now with the school, I'm getting Portuguese. And then, yeah, it just was, I was like, I'm focused to learn it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it helps, sweetheart. He already knew 2 other languages.
Well, yeah,
besides English.
I took that into consideration too.
Yeah. So, you know, if you know Spanish and French, to me, Portuguese is a cross between Portuguese and French. There's a lot of the pronunciation that reminds me of French, and then, like, you know, rua for the streets as opposed to calle for Spanish and stuff like that. So I'm glad that I had 7 years of French now, even though je ne parle français. Je ne parle pas français. No, don't speak it. Can barely remember it, except for when I don't want to remember it, and then it pops in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, so what do you want young people to know? What do you want folks to know in general? And then, tell us about your side hustle.
Yes. So PPIT, Portugal Property Insight Tours. I am basically the man on the ground, visiting properties, giving people a virtual tour, 4K footage for people that are looking to either rent, move, buy, invest in Portugal, and they're in the States or wherever they are and can't get to the property to see it. So I'm the man on the ground. It all starts with, and I'm giving you guys a non-agent's perspective, because moving abroad, there's a lot of things when it comes to, especially in Portugal specifically, you're going to be surprised about. I went through that. So I'm pretty much now just helping. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different system, right? It's a whole different system. So it's humbling. You have to, we got really, really lucky. We got so lucky. First of all, because we didn't use an agent and we rented directly from our landlord, from the person who owns it, who's Portuguese.
Got it.
So there's no middleman or anything like that. So when I hear other people's stories, I realize God was in charge.
Yeah.
This was a little hairy there, but it was pretty smooth. When I look back and I hear some other people's stories, this was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
This was pretty smooth.
I've heard stories.
So 2 things. One, what is the biggest thing or most important thing that you have learned about life and yourself living here as opposed to the United States? And then what would you tell folks who are like, I want to get out, but I don't know?
The biggest thing I've learned being here, living here, is that there's more to life than just the US. And there's more, I personally believe, stability, and you can find peace and outside of the US. It's, for me, a better quality of life and just a way to navigate. It's just different environment, different groups of people. I would say that's the biggest thing I've learned. There's more to life than just the US, this US. And to even elaborate that, I would say home is not where you're born, where you grew up, or where you're from, right? Home is where your heart is. And for a lot of people that are, grew up in the States, lived in the States, that may not be your place, but because you think you're from there, rooted there, I got to stick and stay. But when you find your home, like it's just it's a very like relaxing wave breeze, Yeah. Yeah. And to the people that can you re-say the second question again?
Yeah, that are teetering. They're like, I kind of want to go, but I don't know. And is it really good? Especially, and then we hear
you're so unsure. They're unsure of themselves.
That, and is it really going to be better when racism is everywhere?
So the first thing I'll say is time don't wait for nobody. So the time you spend hesitating and not, I don't know, I'm one in, one out. What I especially tell to all Americans, if you go and it doesn't work out, you can always go back. The US will welcome you in open arms. I lived in Malta, which is a small island under Italy, where thousands, not hundreds, thousands of refugees are arriving every single day. Oof. And this is my first time. It's one thing to hear about these refugee stories. It's one thing to see, but now living with them, I'm hearing I'm like tears to my eyes hearing these people's stories. When they leave their country, if they go back, they're either killed or put in prison. Again, America is we have arguably, and we'll see for how long, but one of the strongest passports. So you can always go back, right? And what I can say is I'm thankful that I went straight from college before the rat race, before the 9-to-5, before the cycle. And everybody that I've spoken to, Rick and Elise, everybody in the community, everybody says, if I knew what you knew when I was your age, what you know when I was your age, I would have done the same thing. So it just gives that reassurance. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, LaBoss.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you sharing your story. That was a roller coaster.
Man.
That was a roller coaster. That was a roller coaster. But folks, it was all worth it. There is life outside of the United States. And you really can have a better life. And a lot of times at a lower cost of living. Look, if you want to ball, you can ball. Like if you want to spend 6,000 euro a month on an apartment, right? You can do that. Yep. If you need to get your finances straight, We have Beyond the Bling, which is our financial freedom course for late bloomers. That information is in the description below. But, when we talk about community and you talk about accountability and stuff like that, we have our Black Utopia Fire Over 50 Facebook group. You don't have to be over 50, but you do have to be from the diaspora to join the group and have a picture up there, y'all. Don't have pictures of flowers and then expect to get in, because I don't know if you're Black. So you got to be Black, but you don't have to be over 50. Anybody who is on the journey of financial freedom and life abroad is welcome to join the group. That's what we talk about. You'll find people who can help you, who can answer questions, and who can offer support. And if Portugal's the place, we just finished our second annual, well, I don't know if it's going to be annual, so we'll see, Move to Portugal Virtual Summit. The replays are available, and that is in the description below. Everything that you need. It's a one-stop shop from the rooter to the tutor, from immigration to taxes, to hearing from other Black folks who live all around the country. All of that information is for you in the description below. And with that, we will see you next time. Bye.
Ciao, guys.